All right, my babies. How are we? Hi, 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 hi. Today's video is listening is about attention. Hearing is about intention. But of course, before we move forward, listening and hearing are, I'm gonna show you what they have in small. I'm gonna open on Google, listening, hearing, meaning, right? And so attention, acceptance. I just had a thought. Listening is about attention, which is acceptance, and hearing is about intention, which is investment. Or at the very least, the way I was splitting hearing from listening. To hear something is to give it your attention. It's to give it give it space in your mind, intention. But to listen to something is to allow it to enter your mind, to sink in, right? To look at it. Like the intention as in I see you, but the attention as in like what are you, right? That kind of thing. Anyways, hearing, according to Google, is sense of which sound is perceived, the capacity to hear, range of audibility, earshot, a legal proceeding with the evidence. All right, so hearing is just taking that. Listening means giving attention to someone or something in order to hear them. It's also the skill of understanding spoken languages. All right, interesting. So I wrote here, hearing is an investment because like a lot of sounds pass by, but you don't kind of like invest your energy in any of them, right? But when somebody's speaking and you give them attention, there are two things that happen. You can hear them or you can listen to them. And that's kind of like that was a theme for like a week and a half. I remember when I was like in Beirut last year. It was end of winter maybe or something, and it was around literally. The theme was around people's voices, and when people speak, when they're speaking to you, when they're giving you advice, when they're having a conversation with you, it's like all these kind of like. I don't know, all these interactions, where do they sit in our head, right? In our mind, in our reality. And so you can hear somebody speak, and you can hear all their words. And when they're done, you take what they said, you process them, you either respond or you don't respond. It doesn't matter. But they stay their words. Right? They stay exactly where they are. They don't move in any other direction, or they don't come closer, basically, when it comes to your own principles, values, sense of self, character, decision-taking processes, choice-making, like options, right? Like in all of these things that you kind of do. So you can hear them, but it doesn't really like kind of like get to you. Like I can hear two people yelling, and it wouldn't get to me. But a horn of a car, basically, I might go like, "Whoop, what's going on?" Right? So that's the whole idea. That's the whole like I guess reasoning behind it, rationale behind it. It was like, or at the very least, that's the position I have towards hearing stuff. So. To hear something is to kind of like give it your intention. Yes, give it attention, but it's an investment that you're actually making. Listening is allowing it to sink in. I feel listening is basically like, is really accepting its existence or accepting it into your world, accepting it into your mind. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people speak to you and you don't consider anything they say, you don't give a fuck. But some people, the minute they open their mouths, you kind of feel like gets to you, right? And whether it is your mother or whether it is your brother or whether it is, I don't know, harsh words from somebody you trust or amazing words from somebody you don't know, right? Like it doesn't matter. Sometimes when you listen to something, you allow it to sink in. You take their voice and you translate it into your own. It becomes part of the things that are expressed or explored in your head, right? When you listen to somebody say something, the next time an incident that reflects on that kind of like happens, what you do is you kind of like, you reflect on the conversation with them, that because you gave them a chance, right? It's sunk in. Well, I feel hearing somebody allows you to go back to it, be like, oh, that wasn't nonsense at all. But listening to something is basically kind of like allowing the words, allowing what its existence to become a part of your perception and to give your perspective a different way to kind of like, to engage with the world. So let's take a step back. Listening is about attention and acceptance. Like when I listen to my friend, for example, give me advice, I am taking it to heart and I'm including it in my decision-taking process, right? I'm including it in how I make choices. Why? Because I listened to what he had to say. But hearing him out is just basically is making sure that whatever was heard did not get translated into my own world, into my own words, into my own tone, into my own. Because if it's something that, I don't know, if it's something that matters, that's good, then you kind of like make it your own, right? You take it, you do stuff with it, you experiment with it, and then you kind of like build around it. That's what happens when you listen to something, whether you're listening about something to someone or whatever. Hearing is acknowledging their existence, acknowledging their presence, acknowledging what they contribute to and all that stuff, but not necessarily making a choice regarding them, right? Not really investing, not really like, it's window shopping, seeing the cars, understanding what the cars are about, but not really like taking it for a drive even, right? Why? Because you haven't made a decision if you want a fast car, a small car, a big car, or a low car. It doesn't matter. And I feel that's the difference between hearing and listening. I say that specifically because like I used to listen to everyone. When I was a kid, I just heard everyone. I didn't do shit. But at one point, I saw myself failing, and I saw everyone kind of like that. I just wanted to see what everyone else was talking about because I never listened to them. So instead of going back and hearing what they had to say, I just listened and trusted everyone's advice, and then eventually it became like a whole complexity of kind of like, do this, no that, no this. This is how it's supposed to be done, and bullshit, right? I don't know if we all go through that, but I went through that. I rejected everyone for so long. I didn't hear them, I didn't listen to them, I didn't give a fuck, man. And at one point, what I ended up doing was I kind of like returned, and I was like, holy shit, nothing I was trying to do worked, because that's how clueless I was. I really didn't listen to anyone or hear anything anyone had to say, right? So when I came back, I completely was like, okay, now that you're going to speak, I'm going to take everything in, and I'm going to make sense out of it, and I'm going to learn from you. And one of the lessons that I learned later on in life is like, a lot of people are just full of shit. And even if their advice is the best advice that could work, maybe it has nothing to do with you because they're fucking doctors and you're an engineer, right? Unless they kind of like realize that they're giving you, they're talking to you from a perspective of how a doctor could also engineer their way or reverse engineer something. I don't know, I have no idea. I'm using these two, but ultimately the idea is I don't know, man. Fucking termites eat wood, but normal ants don't eat wood. They eat leaves or shit. They probably eat wood as well, but they eat greens and shit like this. Or some ants just basically eat they feed moths or whatever, and they eat whatever they secrete, the worms, and they harvest them, and they harvest their kind of like milk or like juices or stuff. Right? Like, I can't eat wood. It doesn't work for me. And I feel the same is for kind of like people that are wholeheartedly trying to help you. Most of the time, what they're trying to do is kind of like express how they succeeded without actually like contributing to how you did, which ends up, if you were listening to that kind of crap, you end up kind of like having that back and forth delivery where you're trying to impose their advice on your world and trying to see where it fits. And by doing that, you add a bit more confusion and a lot more pressure because you're adding a lot more friction to things that normally don't have to be processed through that kind of like nonsense. And again, whether they mean good or not, it's just like the listening part is allowing it to enter your mind. If you just hear them out, then ultimately be like, okay, I hear you. And trust yourself that if you might need that conversation again, then at the very least, take it and put it somewhere where it fits instead of find a place to it, just because you decided you wanted to listen to these people. So, listening is about attention and acceptance. Hearing is about intention and investment. And why not? That's considered a video, isn't it? It's a good video. I love you guys.